I hope you're laughing at me right now, guys, because that is bad. When I started, I couldn't do anything. How do I always mess up the intros? This is a proud moment for me, guys, so please bear with me. Yo, what's going on, guys? Rhys here from More Than Lifting with the More Than Lifting podcast. Conversations about calisthenics, bodyweight training, gymnastics, all that good stuff. I'm Rhys, a personal trainer from the UK and founder of More Than Lifting. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about, how do I always mess up the intros? We're going to be talking about something that a lot of people struggle with, right? And it's belief. Getting started with calisthenics, one of the biggest struggles people have is just that they don't believe they can do any of it. All right, and that is what we're going to be talking about today, because I've got some very exciting news for you, and that's that your progression is inevitable. All right, if you're doing the right training to progress towards a skill, you will get there. Provided you're doing the work, you will get the results. All right, it's one of the secrets of fitness that no one talks about. If you do the work, you get results. And so it doesn't matter how crazy you think something is, you can go from 0 to planche. You can go from 0 to front lever, back lever, human flag, muscle up, whatever you want, all right? And that is kind of unbelievable, all right? It certainly was for me anyway. When I first kind of discovered calisthenics, I'm going to tell you about this, right? So when I first got into bodyweight training, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do pull-ups, I couldn't do a handstand, I couldn't do anything. I've been training for a while, and the truth is, I got bored of the gym and I'd just stopped training. I'd spent the last 3 months throughout the summer not doing anything. And I bumped into my mate one night, Greg, you literally changed my life. So if you're listening to this, fucking thumbs up to you, mate. And also give me a call. Greg literally changed my life. Right? I wouldn't be sat here talking to you if me and Greg didn't have this conversation, which, you know, is great for you guys as well. If you're trying to learn about this and I'm helping you, then really, you need to thank Greg. Or I'll thank him for you, because the dude's amazing. Anyway, so me and my mate Greg, we were sat down and I was explaining that I'd basically given up on the gym. I'd fallen out with it, and it wasn't because I wasn't seeing any results. It wasn't because I wasn't getting fitter or stronger or I'd hit a plateau. It wasn't anything like that. All right. The problem was I was bored. And that's a big thing, because it doesn't matter, the physical results weren't enough. Yeah, they weren't enough for me to stay at it, all right? And I wasn't in bad shape at all. Okay, I just said I couldn't do a pull-up, but I think a lot of people who are in pretty good shape can't do a pull-up, not a proper one. So, you can let me off for that. But I was in pretty good shape. I just didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. It was boring. Just getting in good shape wasn't enough for me. I wanted something to show for it, and this is what I was explaining to Greg. And he goes, mate, you should check out this calisthenics. You'll love it. And I was like, what is this? So he pulls up YouTube, and he's showing me videos of people doing planches and one-arm handstands and a front lever and flags and stuff like that. And I'd never seen these things before. Actually, I'd seen a flag. So a flag I'd seen. But I hadn't seen any of the other stuff. I couldn't even imagine it, you know what I mean? I stood there how the fuck do people learn this stuff? But I was like, this seems cool, this seems fun. This is amazing. If you learn, and I realised that if I was learning a skill, I was getting more, that ROI, that return that I wanted. I needed to learn stuff, and this just instantly hit the spot with me. I was like, this is what I've been looking for. It's exactly what I've been looking for. So I was pretty excited, but I mean, how do you learn to planche? Yeah, so I didn't understand. And I wanted to do it, but I couldn't even imagine how to start something like that. All I said to Greg was, how the fuck do you learn that? You know what I mean? And so we had a little train in his garden, literally there and then. We went out, we were doing some handstands and stuff. You know, when you see some crazy calisthenics videos, like you get a bit inspired to go training, don't you? So we're like, we try and do some handstands. Neither of us can do a handstand. I mean, Greg is a strong guy, like great shape, and he was like ahead of me definitely from where I was at the time. So he was a lot closer to his handstand than I was, and like it was really exciting, but I couldn't do anything. So he showed me like some really like low level stuff, like the L-sit, crow stand, you know, just the basic kind of things. And we went out a couple of times, went training down the trees, and that's how I got my introduction to it, and eventually my introduction to gymnastics as well, because it's because of him I even went to a session. So thumbs up to you, Greg. Anyway, so like I say, I couldn't do anything, but I learned to do a crow stand when I was training with Greg, and he was explaining like the progressions, the basic kind of isometric, like the lever progression template, which we've spoken about in another episode. And so that's your tuck, your advanced tuck, your single leg, straddle, and then full. And so he was showing me with like the levers, and he couldn't do a lever or anything, but he knew about it, and he explained it to me, and he explained the straight arm thing, the locked arm strength as well, right at the start. So that was one of the key lessons that I learned at the start that really shot me ahead. So the straight arm thing, if you're not working on your straight arm strength, then start now, because it's important. We'll get to that in another episode of the podcast in detail, but just trust me. So we go out, we have a little train, and I'm starting to get into this thing, and I'm just gutted, really. Like, I was totally inspired. I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. I want to like learn all these crazy skills. And not just like these calisthenics guys, they weren't hulks, you know, they weren't like rhinos. They were in great shape, but you know what I mean? They still look like normal people. They weren't like massive geezers, you know what I mean? That's not what I was looking for. I wasn't looking for like bodybuilding or anything like that. I was looking for more of the dexterous kind of, like it wasn't more about being huge. It was just about being in great shape. Yeah, so that's the differentiator for me as well. And that was an important thing with calisthenics, because these guys weren't massive. Like they were like normal guys. They were ripped, but they weren't like say hulks. So that appealed to me as well, because it was like they weren't, it was like the strength and the physique was a byproduct of the training and the skills, you know, and that really spoke to me. So, but I couldn't do any skills, so because I couldn't do pull-ups right at the start, I was working on them. I was doing like negatives, and I was doing like rows, and I was stuff like that, and I was doing this kind of the basic stuff, working towards that foundation, just like I teach everyone to do now, work towards that base. But I was learning some of like the more low-level isometric skills, like planche leans, like some basic push-up variations, the crow stand I've spoken about, L-sits as well, and a tuck planche. So I was working on these as well, and it took me, I learned to L-sit and I learned to tuck planche, and I learned that crow stand really early on, and those skills, those basic isometric skills, really transferred and really helped me later on. So in the next kind of 3 or 4 months, as I really started getting into it, when I started gymnastics and stuff like that, I had a degree of skill, stability and control already, so that when I started doing gymnastics, I was able to like learn a few things quite quickly as well, which was really good. But enough about that. Anyway, the point is, when I started, I couldn't do anything. It took me 3 months to go from about 3 pull-ups. When I finally learned to do pull-ups, I could do about 3. And it took me 3 months to go from 3 to 8 pull-ups, which, to be honest with you, was embarrassing. I get people there a lot faster than that. And if it took you that long to go from 3 pull-ups to 8 pull-ups, like it's 5. You know what I mean? I hope you're laughing at me right now, guys, because that is bad. Anyway, it took me ages to get there, but I got there. I got there because I followed the steps, and that was the learning process for me, of learning the kind of dynamic skills and like learning the movement patterns, learning that shoulder stability, working all those very low level, those basics, but I drilled them. I drilled and I drilled and I drilled. And my crow stand, I could just crow stand and just stay there for ages. I could switch legs, and I could only do 5 pull-ups, you know what I mean? My isometrics were just on another level. But I got my pull-ups. All right, I got my pull-ups, and once I got my pull-ups, I turned my attention to the next thing, and then the next thing, and I progressed, and I started learning handstands. And before that, I couldn't do handstands. I never believed I would ever really do handstands until calisthenics came along. And then next thing I'm at gymnastics, and I'm learning handstands. Like, it's just happening. Now I can handstand. In fact, this is a proud moment for me, guys. So please bear with me. A couple of days ago, I did my first one-arm handstand, like actual freestanding, all by myself, like held it, pinned it, happy as Larry. I actually managed to do 3 in the same training session. Ah, man, that's a skill that I've just wanted for so long. But I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time dedicated training on it. I mean, I spent loads of time on my handstand, and I've worked like different variations, and my handstand's pretty good. I haven't hit my minute yet. I'm still working on my minute, but I didn't think I'd have a one-arm handstand for a while. And so I'm happy with that. That's cool. And that's, I never, 4 years ago, I couldn't handstand. 4 years ago, I couldn't handstand. Well, sorry, how old? Yeah, 4 years ago I was learning to handstand. All right, and it took ages to learn to handstand because I wasn't drilling it. I was just doing it at gymnastics, and I wasn't focused on it. And then I went from, after about a year, I had maybe a max kind of 10-second hold, which is still bad. Like, my posture wasn't amazing. Like, my posture wasn't very good. And then I focused on it for a while, and my posture fixed right up, and I started working transitions and different handstand skills, and now I'm handstand sick. All right, but 4 years ago I was trying to handstand, and I never thought I'd be able to do a one-arm handstand. I done a one-arm handstand 4 days ago for the first time, and I did 3. 3. Two straddle and 1 pencil. Just a nice stiff pencil handstand. Oh, mate, and it was good. But that's what I mean, right? Because I've kind of just told you about how I got into calisthenics. The point of this is that you can do it. Anyone can do it. And that's pretty amazing, I think. But anyone can do it. If you can't do anything right now, if you can't do a row, or your rows are weak, like my rows were terrible when I started calisthenics, all right? But what did I do? I followed the steps. I just went boom, 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 follow the steps, do the negatives, do the shorten the lever, raise yourself up, do more, get better, get stronger, and then it gets a bit harder. And that's how fitness works. That's how strength training works. That's the amazing thing about it. It is literally inevitable. If you're doing the training, and that was the point of me telling you all this, if you want it, you can do it, all right? And if you're willing to put the time in, and you're willing to put the effort in, that is all it takes, all right? There's no luck, yeah, and there's an element of talent, maybe, if you already have done some gymnastics, or you're pretty good at handstands or whatever, like you're some kind of yoga fanatic, and that way you've already done a lot of like isometric skill inversion kind of training, then yeah, you might already be quite good. But even if you have got nothing right now, and your posture's terrible, and you're overweight, like, you can still get to where I am. You can still do you can still learn to planche, all right? It takes time. You have to do the right training, but you can do it, because all you have to do is follow the steps. Yeah, if you're a bit overweight, you probably have to lose some weight. Then you'll have to get a lot stronger, because that's what comes next. It takes a lot of strength to do a planche. But you'll have to get stronger. But if you can't do pulls, you start working towards your pulls, you get good at your pulls, and you hit that foundation, you start working on your planche, you go from your tuck, you go to your advanced tuck, then a couple of weeks later, you're like, oh yeah, I've been working my advanced tuck for ages, I'm quite stable with it, I'm quite strong with it. You try your single leg, and then you try your next single leg, and okay, it's terrible at first, but a week later you can get it straight, and then next thing you're working on your splits a little, and you start doing your splits. Okay, your splits are terrible, but you start working it in your training, in your warm-ups, and in your cool-downs, because you know that straddle's coming next, and you want to get that straddle, all right? And all it takes is the work. Yeah, there is nothing else that's going to stop you. And actually, that's not necessarily true. You might struggle if you have a disability, or if you have a disease or something that literally affects you and your training and your physical kind of well-being in that way. Then maybe this isn't the right training for you. But If not, then you have no excuse. They're the only reasons that you might not be able to do this. If you've completely fuck your shoulders, then you're probably not going to be able to do a lever or a planche, like realistically. But if you're healthy, or if you haven't got any crazy injuries, it doesn't matter if you're not healthy yet or not. You just got to get healthy and get strong, and that's it. Then you can do those skills. You can learn this stuff. Okay, there is nothing stopping you other than you. All it takes is for you to follow the process. Okay, the process exists. Just like with weight training, you start with 5 kilos, then you get good at 5 kilos, then you're doing 10 kilos, and then you do your 10 kilo enough, eventually you're able to do 15 kilos and 20 kilos, and one day you'll be able to do 50 kilos if you keep working. Yeah, and that's exactly what it is with bodyweight training. Okay, it looks crazier, and a lot of the times the process is a bit longer, but the rewards are there, and the rewards are massive. Yeah, in my opinion anyway, I think the rewards of doing bodyweight training and calisthenics are so much greater than just doing weight training. Like, honestly, it's just, I wouldn't now just do weights. Like, if I was going to do training, or if someone came to me and they wanted to get fit, like, I'd just get them doing bodyweight training. And okay, yeah, I'm a bit biased, I understand that, but anyone who I've introduced to bodyweight training has kind of struggled with it at first, and once they learn a couple of skills, like, they're coming back to me telling me they've learned this new shit, and and they're all excited about it. I don't need to force it on them anymore. People just fall in love with this kind of stuff because there is more of a reward there. And if you're not chasing a number on the scales or a number on a bar, if you're looking at a skill rather than trying to increase a weight, like, it's a different kind of mentality when it comes to training for it. Because if you're just lifting for the sake of lifting, then eventually lifting isn't going to be good enough for you anymore. Like, you're not going to do it for whatever reason. Other things will get in the way. But if you're trying to learn a skill, then it's not about, like, when you go to do your weights or your training, you're not doing training for training's sake. And you're not doing training just to look a bit better. You're doing training to acquire a skill, and you'll look a bit better as a byproduct of it, and you'll get stronger as a byproduct of it. And that might be your ultimate goal, might be to get in better shape, and you might want a 6-pack, and you might want, like, that nice lat heavy V shape in your body. You might be going out somewhere for summer and you want all the girls to fancy you, and that's cool, that's all right. Like, that is all right to be your goal. But if you're trying to work on a skill, and if you're trying to do that and you're trying to work on a skill rather than trying to work on weights, then when you're hungover and you're feeling shit, you're not going to go to the gym. But you might still work on some handstands, you might still work on your crow stand, because it's a bit more fun than lugging yourself all the way to the gym just to throw some weight around. It's more inviting, it's more like, it's a much more attractive process. Like, why would you just want to sit there looking at yourself lifting, picking stuff up and putting stuff down? And I'm not, like, don't get me wrong, I sometimes do weight training, it's all right. It's not that I don't like weight training, I don't have this like it sounds like it here, yeah, and that's because I'm trying to explain to you that of the reward and the gain. What do you have to gain from doing your weights, other than the physique? But you get the physique from doing this, and you learn a skill. It's that engagement that you don't get, right? And that's the thing that I struggle with, and it's the thing that a lot of people who I talk to struggle with, and why they are so interested in doing bodyweight training. And, like, jump on board, I say. Like, whether you become a client of mine or not, that doesn't matter to me. I'm more excited about hearing that you're working on your handstand push-up or your hollow back, and you've just learnt this new thing, and I get a little video off you on Instagram. Like, that makes me happy, you know. I don't need to be teaching you that stuff for me to benefit from it. So send me your shit, because I want to see these crazy skills you're working on. And if you can't do any crazy skills, don't worry. All right, all you need to do is follow the steps. Yeah, your progression is inevitable. You want to learn that one-arm handstand, go for it. All right. If you want some help with it, send me a DM on Instagram. We'll have a chat about it. and we'll work on it together, because I'm still working on it. I've only done 3, you know what I mean? I'm not like king of one-arm handstands or anything. There are plenty of people who are much better than me at the minute, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be good. Yeah, because all I need to do is practice my one-arm handstands, and at the minute, like, I'm really working on my hollow back. I really want to get good at the hollow back, because my hollow back sucks. Yeah, and I'm not worried about hitting that hollow back target. All right, one day I'm going to be able to do that hollow back, and it's going to be amazing, because I know that all I have to do is follow the steps, and I can get there, and I can do it. And it's exactly this, like, I'm still working on the ring planche on the rings. All right, I'm actually getting all right at it. I've recently got good at ring handstands, got pretty solid actually at them, and I'm feeling really good about that too, because they are hard. Handstands are one thing, but handstands on the rings, man, I never thought I'd be able to do that. But you know what I've done? I've followed the steps, I've done the training, and what do you know? Like, I can do a handstand on the rings. So that is proof that all you need to do is follow the steps. Your progression is inevitable. This was supposed to be a short podcast. Like, I've got these 10-minute limits. I know they get longer and longer, but we're at like 22 minutes now, so I'm sorry. I did have a little ramble in the middle. But guys, whatever skill you want, it doesn't matter how far away it seems right now, you can get there. All it takes is for you to literally follow the steps. All right, you can find out about the steps by just rewinding a couple of episodes and listening to them. I just tell you, they're not a secret. You can learn. Go on YouTube, search muscle up progressions. All right, there are thousands of videos out there that will teach you how to learn a muscle up. All you got to do is do all that stuff, and pretty soon you'll be able to muscle up. All right. That's the great thing about calisthenics, is anything is possible. Your progression is inevitable, provided you're doing the work. And it's really that simple, guys. All right, I'm cutting it off here, because otherwise I'll talk for another 20 minutes. Guys, that is it for this episode. If you like what you heard, give us a subscribe, an honest 5-star rating and review, wink wink, and yeah, share us with your mates, anyone who needs to hear this, who's struggling with any skills and needs a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of positive reinforcement that they're doing something good, because they are. And fucking props to you if you're learning anything, if you're struggling with anything right now. Just remember, all you've got to do is follow the steps, and it might take a month, it might take 2 months, it might take a year, but you can get there. All right, just keep at it, work on the skills, and you know, your progression is inevitable. All right, yeah, I'll catch you in the next one, guys, in a couple of days. Otherwise, keep in touch with yourselves. If you have any questions or comments, just reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter or anywhere at MorganLifting, most places. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.